photographers, welcome back to my channel. I'm Michelle and I make videos all about photography, and today's video is going to be a good one. It's probably been my most requested video to date, and that is how do I actually start this photography business legally? How do I legit open my doors and start operating as a legit photography business? So we're going to talk about that today. And just for clicking on today's video, as a thank you for me, I have a freebie down in the description box below if you haven't already got it, and it's called Cash Injection. So if you need a couple different ideas of just how to quickly bring in some cash flow into your photography business, definitely grab that and grab those ideas down below. But let's go ahead and get into this. Okay, so of course I have to put a disclaimer in that I'm not a lawyer. I'm obviously not a CPA. Please ask all your individual financial questions to somebody that is a professional that can help you out, especially because every state to state, just the laws are different, and I know that's frustrating when you're trying to learn what to do, but in this video I can at least give you some general guidance, what to ask, what you need to be looking into, and hopefully get you a lot further along the way to opening up that photography business. Okay, so let's jump in. So the first thing I would recommend you do is file a DBA, which is just a doing business as document. So you're gonna tell your state, hey, I'm gonna open up a business. So you're going to go to your Secretary of State, and it's usually free, or if not, like a very small fee, like $25, $50 or so. Again, it'll vary state to state. You're gonna fill out who you are and what your business name is, business address, all those things. And once you file that, you are automatically gonna be what's called a sole proprietor. Now, when you're first starting your photography business, that might be okay, especially if you're in high school or college and you don't have a lot of personal assets such as a house, a car, maybe you're making less than maybe 10K a year, kind of that area. You'll probably be okay operating as a sole proprietor that first year, but as soon as you can, if not ideally, as soon as you filed your DBA, you would file what's called an LLC, which is a limited liability company. Now, the main difference, the easiest way for me to explain both of these is as a sole proprietor, meaning like you would file your taxes under your social security number, you are doing business as yourself. There's no barrier between you and your business. It is obviously the easiest and cheapest option. That's why a lot of people start off with that, but it can be really scary really fast. So of course it's hard to think about worst case scenario, but when you're starting your business, you kind of need to think about the worst case scenario. So let's say you're on a photo shoot and your model accidentally twists an ankle, or something happens where she gets injured and mom sues you for that. So if you're a sole proprietor, they can not only sue you for all your business assets and worth, but they can also sue you for all your personal stuff. So they can attack both the business and the personal stuff, which is really scary. If you form yourself as an LLC, there ends up being like a barrier between. So instead of just this one person, you kind of separate into two things. And so what that means is, let's say the same scenario, unfortunately the model gets hurt, the mom sues you or something like that. And then when they go to sue you, all they can do is sue your business. They can't sue any of your personal stuff. So they couldn't touch your house, they couldn't touch your car, anything like that. So it's really important to become an LLC. You're gonna be doing business with the state. Again, the Secretary of State is gonna be such a good resource for you starting out. Plus they want their little cut of the share too. So usually they're pretty easy to work with. That's what I did. I called the Secretary of State office and I asked them all the questions, and they told me the forms I need to fill out. So in order to file an LLC, you're going to be going through the Secretary of State. So you might also hear the words of a business entity. So that's what you're going to become. So instead of just being a sole proprietor, you're going to become an entity, which is an LLC. So you'll probably get what's called an EIN number, which is free from the government. So at this stage, you're telling not only the state, hey, I'm going to be a business. You also need to tell the government, federal, like, hey, I'm gonna do business, because everybody wants their cut of the pie. So you would just go to the IRS.gov, the main website, and then get an EIN number, which is basically like a social security number for your business. And then when you're forming your LLC, you're gonna first make sure that there's nobody else with your name, your business name, because you're registering that business. And there's a quick search bar usually that you can search for your business name and see if anybody else has it. And then you'll file it, and it'll use some terminology like registered agent, all that stuff. That's a little scary, but it's just and you're just registering, especially if you're a single member LLC, most likely as a photographer. It's not too hard, so I want to encourage you that, but it is a little complicated. So if you can get somebody to help you with that, that's what I encourage you to do, to help you file all those things. And of course, it's going to cost a little money. Now, every state really depends on this. Some are cheaper than others. So you'll have a filing fee to form your LLC, and then every year they're going to ask you if you want to renew it. Some states, it's a pretty low cost to renew every year. Some are a little bit higher. It's just what it is depending on the state laws. So you'll have to renew that LLC to keep it every single year, but it's really not that hard. It literally takes me 5 minutes to renew. So it's not hard, it's just something you need to remember to do, but it is so beyond worth it to protect yourself from something that could be terrible. Okay, so now you have your DBA filed, you're filed as an LLC, preferably, and so now you're gonna open up your business checking and savings account. This is a must. Anytime you open a business, you need to have separate accounts for the funds for your business. IRS does not like you mingling your personal finances with your business, plus it just gets really muddy when it comes to tax time. And honestly, it makes your life a lot easier. So you'll go to your bank, the bank you're already in, and you ask them about opening up a checking account. Usually they'll ask for some documentation like a DBA or your LLC, stuff like that, and you'll already have it filed, so it should be really easy to open up. And I highly recommend going to a bank that doesn't charge extra for those business checking and savings accounts. Not all banks are the same, but if it shouldn't be a high cost to open up another checking account with them. So just be careful in that. You absolutely can go to a different bank, but obviously it makes it easier if you keep it all in one bank. So that's what I did. I went to my local bank and I opened up my business checking and business savings account. So how that runs is all the income I get from my photography business runs and funnels into my checking account, all of it. And then from there is when I distribute to my savings account, which is for taxes, which we'll go over in a second. And then I also pay myself from my checking account. And I'm an established photographer, so I can be able to pay myself every 2 weeks, like a payroll. But even if you're not at that point, you never want to have the money come into you in your personal account and then pay your business. Like, that's just not, that's gonna be a headache in the long run. The IRS isn't gonna like that. It's gonna be a red flag for auditing. So make sure all your income comes into your checking account for your business, and then from there, you can distribute the funds where they need to go. So we have our DBA filed, you are an LLC, you formed an LLC. You have your separate business checking and savings account for all your money to flow in. I also want you to now check on taxes. And of course, you know you have to pay your taxes, especially to the government and the federal. But the main thing I want to talk about is, like, you need to check in your area, in your state, about sales tax. So every state is obviously going to have different requirements for this, and especially specifically for photographers. Again, I would call the Secretary of State and I just ask them specifically about your job and about the sales tax. Because if you're a photographer that just services your clients and just gives them the digitals, like they don't receive any tangible product, you probably will not have to collect sales tax. But if you sell anything for cost of goods, so like albums, prints, canvases, even a USB, if they get any physical tangible product, the state will probably ask you to collect sales tax. And in order to do that, they usually have you get a permit, reseller's permit, or a sales and use tax permit. They're called a little bit different things, but that's the other thing you need to make sure if you need to be collecting, depending on the type of photography that you do. Okay, and then next I want to make sure you get your main contract in place. It's another thing to protect yourself, especially if you're a sole proprietor. You need a contract in place to help you protect you. So we want to protect your business. Anytime you work with a client, they should be signing a contract. Even mini sessions, definitely make sure you have a contract in place. And as you grow in your business, you can kind of make a contract for each different genre of photography that you offer, but you need to at least have something that they sign, a written agreement to protect yourself. And so I'm going to link a couple different resources down below of women that I trust that are lawyers and photographers that you can get contracts from. And nowadays there's a lot of different places you can do online contracts so they can sign it digitally, but always have a copy of your contract template ready to go if you ever need it. Okay, so last point, so let's recap. So you file the DBA, so the state knows you are starting a business. You formed an LLC to protect yourself. You opened your business checking and savings account to help all the money and the cash flow go to the right places and help your life on taxes and everything. You figured out if you are gonna have to have sales tax or not. and you got a contract in place. So the last thing I would suggest when starting up your business to make sure you're protected, that you're legal, that you're good to go, is business insurance. And specifically, I want you to get general liability, I think it's called commercial general liability insurance first. So this is the worst case scenario insurance. So like I mentioned before, if somebody slips and falls during your photo shoot and they come and sue you, that this is the insurance that's going to protect you, especially if you're a sole proprietor and you don't have any other protection. You need at least general liability insurance. Obviously those rates vary so much. I mean, in general, you'll probably pay $500 to $600 a year. When you divide it by 12, it's not terrible. And I know it's an extra expense, but it's so much better than that one time when someone sues you for $1 million or whatever for medical expenses. So you'll want to get general liability insurance. Now that's different than gear insurance. If you want like gear protection insurance, that's a different insurance that you can invest in. Personally for me, I never bought into that because technology changes so fast. By the time something happened to my camera, I'd probably want to upgrade anyway, but that's a personal decision for me. But you definitely want to at least make sure you have that general liability insurance just to make sure you are covered in case worst case scenario. Okay, so let's recap getting you all formed and legit and ready to open your doors to actually being a legit photography business. So you have filed your DBA, so you're telling your state that you are starting a business. You formed an LLC to protect yourself. You're an actual business entity. You have your EIN number from the IRS. And so you're a separate entity with the government as well. And then you have your separate business checking and savings account to allocate where all the funds are going to go to, and that you can separate them from there. And you've also checked on taxes. Are you going to have to collect sales tax for your specific photography business? And how much income tax do you need to be saving on the side? If you need to research that, you can just Google like tax brackets of what you would be and get a general idea of how much you'd have to save per year, per paycheck, however you want to figure that out. You got your main contract in place that you are giving to every single client that you work with. And then finally, you're going to get commercial general liability insurance to protect yourself from worst case scenario. If you do all of these things, you're well on your way to becoming a long-lasting, legal, legit photography business. And I know it's hard, right? Like even with the best intentions, I see so many photographers miss a couple of these steps, and I just hear nightmare stories, and I do not want that for you. So it does take a little extra time. Of course, this isn't the fun part, right? We got into photography because of the art of it and everything like that. But it's just part of starting your own photography business. If you have questions, please leave them down below. I will do my best to help you. If I don't know, I will try to give you a resource of somewhere that you can go to find out. The Secretary of State, like I said, is going to be probably your best resource when you're first starting your business. And don't be afraid to ask questions. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay not to know everything. There's a lot of people that do this for a living, so reach out, ask people, get help, get legal, and so you'll have so much less stress on your plate. I'm so excited for those that are going to start a business. If you do start your business, please let me know so I can celebrate with you. That's a huge deal. All right, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up if this was helpful. If you want me to continue this series of Photography 101, Basics of Business, maybe next time I'll talk more about marketing your business off the ground when you're first starting. I think that might be helpful. So until the next one, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.